My name is Cornelius Jakhelln. I'm here because I'm playing a concert in London at the Barfly in Camden with my band Solefald. We started it in Paris 18 years ago. Two young Norwegians who had very drunk friends, and we went eating snails at Pigalle instead of getting that sloshed. And then we did the museums, galleries, and shared a passion for actually melodic black metal. That was at the time Cradle of Filth and Emperor. So we hooked up, became best friends, and we have made music together ever since. There is a big amount of different styles in our music. You have pop, rock, punk, hip-hop influences, as well as barbaric, thrash, death, and black metal. So this is really music that's difficult to reduce, and hence the audience has hitherto been rather traditional, or sort of rather select. We'll see what playing live can do to that. I'm trying to focus on the development of the modern avant-garde, or call it the second generation avant-garde. Black metal sounds very mysterious, but it's really part of the tradition that we also are part of, and that we have been a part of for the last 18 years. Also other black metal, German, Endstille, Norwegian talk. I listen to all kinds of stuff. I like synth music, hip hop, opera, classical. I mean, I'm fairly much eating everything. I consider my main job as being a lyricist and somehow a strategist, or somebody who plans. Maybe an architect is a good comparison, because it's about laying out the landscape we want to enter with our music, the atmosphere. Somehow sketching up the edifice of the album to come. That is the job that I like the most. I can travel to somewhere far away. I can go to India or to Brazil and sit on the beach with my sketch pad, and I hear music in my mind, and I just write down gibberish, ideas, and somehow these old ideas, some of them die and some of them stay with me. The title of our coming album in 2014 is Cosmopolis. The title has been with me for, I think, 15 years or something. It's been in my mind, I just never used it. So that's the magic, that's what I get out of this. It's creativity. That's really what makes me want to keep going. The real magic occurs when Lazar and I, when we sit together and we write together. It's like a conversation without words. We communicate through music. And as we know each other for very well for almost 2 decades, there is not only music happening, there is also communication on a deeper level. I could say spiritual. I do believe there is something spiritual happening when we write music, and everything is fluent, and you lose track of time and where you are. That is really the magic moment of creativity. It's very much an effort, a process of constructing something, of building something that if everything is done correctly, also on the level of the details, in the end it can become a beautiful edifice. So it's really about also engineering the small pieces. That is, the guitars have to be tuned. You have to be knowing a minimum of how to play and how to sing. But none of us are that great instrumentalists. So people consider our music complex, but that's really because it is layered. But the parts in themselves are often not that difficult. But the totality of those parts become something that is at times frighteningly complex. We've published altogether 7 studio albums since 1997. Our debut was the linear Scaffold, second album Neonism. Our last efforts have been more in the Norse direction. I wanted something constructive, something that would permit me a feeling of the sacred within the secular society. And Norse mythology is exactly that, because it's turned secular. Nobody takes it seriously as a religion. I mean, a few nutcases do, but for me it's more about spiritual longing for what my ancestors believed in. And not only what they believed in, but where they went, because there is a voyage involved. They actually crossed the seas in ships. They went to Scotland to pillage and plunder. They discovered America 500 years before Columbus, and maybe even before that again. They sailed all the way to the Black Sea, through Russia, and all the way through Eastern Europe. So these men and women were pioneers, and they were cosmopolitans as well, which is important to keep in mind, because very often, unfortunately, due to lack of information and stupidity, and interest in Norse topics may be likened to right-wing extremism, which I find abhorrent and displaying really a lack of culture. Because if you are educated in history, you know the importance of knowing your own origins. The Vikings were really like a tiny percentage of the population of their day. They were the outlaws. The population as such, you could possibly call them Norse or Norwegians. What I would retain is really the lust for adventure, for exploration, and for going further, of pushing boundaries, which is exactly what we've been trying to do with Solefald for the last 18 years. And I believe that in modest scale that we have succeeded in doing so. And that is everything whenever there is a person who does something that the others don't, who breaks another wall, or sees something unseen, discovers something new, I always display interest, and I always respect those persons, because it's so seldom. Because most people, they walk in that direction along with the other sheep. So I think that is what I would like to retain, and that is universal. It can be in science, it can be in business, it can be in arts. It really doesn't matter, but it's about not only doing something, but about doing it in a pioneering way. I believe that the best way to preserve culture is by destroying it in a creative fashion. By saying that, I mean people who preserve culture are usually devoid of imagination, and they are not artists, and certainly not geniuses. If you are a genius, you take tradition as your source material and you transform it. Look at what Picasso did, for example. Clearly a genius. He had a photographer friend who forgot a slide in his atelier, and the next time he came around to Picasso gave him the slide back with a sort of shrewd smile, and with a needle he had engraved a different pattern in the slide. You give him something and he cannot help but altering it. That for me is the genius I'm talking about. I do many other things. My profession is, apart from being a musician, is being a writer. I write in my mother language, which is Norwegian, and I'm trying to create prose and poetry where the Old Norse and Germanic myths crash into our contemporary life and puts it into perspective. So for the British viewers, of course, Neil Gaiman is a huge reference. I was into this before I discovered Neil Gaiman, but when I saw and read American Gods, I was like, holy fuck, man, this guy did it first. So it was like, meeting another mind that's exactly on the same track that I want to be on. Very inspiring. As long as I sense a hunger in the audience, I think that I'm satisfied. If I feel that the audience is tired, fed up and blasé, the best thing would really be to just not play at all, just leave the stage empty. But of course you can't, because you have to be professional. But in the ideal world, that would be what to do, to just be with uncompromising, demand also full attention from the audience, because they do deserve it. They deserve the best live experience they can get. And I think it's very, it's not that uncommon, but it's difficult to demand something from the audience, because actually they're paying to see you. But if I could decide, it would have been also demands targeting the audience, which is part of the art of being a performer, of course, because that is demanding something from the audience without them realizing it.